like to call the Board of Public Works meeting of May 17th, 2016 to order. First, just ask if anybody is taping this meeting other than LCAT.
Shirley Tancredi for the minutes.
Okay. First on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of the May 4th, 2016 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 4th.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to review and approve the minutes of the executive session of May 4th, 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session of May 4th.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
All good.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Bob Parent.
Thank you. I'd like to take a couple of moments and just give you another update on where we stand relative to our budget as we're getting closer to the end of the fiscal year. The handout I have is, I guess, about halfway. Actually, it should be the last sheet in the packet, I believe. And the takeaways from the handout is we're in week number 45. That puts us just shy of 86% of the way through the fiscal year. All the trends are pretty similar to previous months. As I said, we're in good shape as we're getting closer to the end of the year. I did highlight a couple of boxes on the energy items, primarily to call attention to the fact that both our gas costs and our electricity costs have gone down this year. The reason I highlighted them is those are the two areas where we made, last year we developed our budgets. We shifted some budget money from gas down to electricity. So if you look at the percentages don't tell the whole story. Both of them have actually gone down from last year, although the percentages might indicate that the gas has gone up. But it's actually, in terms of total magnitude, has gone down as well from last year. So we're in great shape. We're looking ahead towards the end of the year. We're looking at where we have an opportunity to make purchases that might be purchases we know we need next fiscal year for materials and things like that to hopefully take some of the pressure off next fiscal year if we have an opportunity to do so.
Okay. And snow and ice is final.
Snow and ice is final,
I was
yes.
looking at that.
It's shut down, locked, etc. at this point, and we're about where we expected. I went back historically and I took a look back 10 plus years, and this year's expenditures are the lowest that have been since 2004. So, when you include inflation and everything else in there, it's, it was a good year for snow and ice.
Excellent. So that's not that it's a give back, but it's a $300,000 or $400,000 more we have than we typically have.
Correct.
Because that's a budget we can overspend, and they overspend it.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a cushion for this year.
Right. Typically, appropriations would go to town meeting with a line item for the catch-up with the snow and ice budget for the previous year. This year, they don't have to do that. In fact, they indicated that given to the relatively low magnitude of the transfers needed, they would likely take care of that through just an interdepartmental transfer at the close of the fiscal year and not require any town meeting action to close that out.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I wanted to note that we're putting the finishing touches on our consumer confidence report, which is the publication that go out to all of our residents and our water consumers in town on an annual basis. It is a little bit more lengthy this year due to there being some additional parameters, primarily that the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission on a periodic basis was required to test for. So there are some additional line items that are being reported this year that don't get reported every year. There's also a regulation known as the Unregulated Contaminant Monitoring Rule, which EPA requires water systems to sample for parameters that there are currently no regulatory standards for, as a part of developing a statistical basis for potential future regulations. And we were subjected to that last year. So there will be some parameters that are again reported under that unregulated contaminant rule that'll appear on the Consumer Confidence Report, for which there are no regulatory standards for at this point, but there might be in the future.
Okay.
Reporting on our cross-connection program, as we talked about at the last meeting, with Mark Langone's departure, we've shifted some of that responsibility to Joe Dunn, our plumber, to pick up, since he is also certified as a cross-connection inspector. We did take a look at the state certification list to see what additional support we can bring in on a temporary basis. We weren't unfortunately able to find any local in-town plumbers that were certified. We reached out to a couple to see if they had any recommendations. They didn't come up with any, but I did reach out to Mass DEP. They had a couple of names that they suggested, and the one party that I'm speaking with right now it's actually a small water system operations firm. It's known as East National Water, and they're based in Palmer, Mass. They operate a handful of small water systems. They have a couple of staff people that are certified on staff, and they appear to have the resources to help us out really on a one-time basis to get us through this initial round this year, and then by the fall we hope to be back, with the ability to completely do all the testing with our own staff. Moving on to staff items, we have posted, and I believe I had advised the board previously, the Public Works Asset Management Specialist position, which is really the data collection, data management position relative to our assets, our roadways, our utilities, really everything the town happens to own. We have a couple of local candidates that have applied at this point. I did post it actually on a national jobs board as well that is really targeted for geographic information system specialist types of positions, to try to get it out there as broadly as I could. And I've got a number of responses through that. I suspect many of them really won't be a great fit, because probably not too many people are going to move from Texas to East Longmeadow to take a job, but I wanted to get as broad of coverage as I possibly could get. We'll probably go out another week, maybe another 2 weeks, and then see what we have for applications, and start trying to screen the applications down to a short list that we'll talk to.
Did you tell them it could be a very challenging job with 7 streets going into one rotary? We're in the Guinness Book of World Records. Just sell it a little bit?
I did not sell that. No, I should have. Yes, I agree.
Could offer that challenge.
Good idea. I did want to mention, and I think Mr. Fenney and Mr. Esposito will talk a little bit more, but we have our summer staff contingent fully on board as of today. We actually had the opportunity to bring 6 staff members in on a part-time basis this summer, which is more than we've done in some years. With some of the transitions that we've had, it's freed up some ability to bring in some summer staff and do some things that we haven't done in the past, or haven't done recently. All 6 of the individuals that are working for us this summer are all local residents. They all live in East Longmeadow. One gentleman worked for us last year, Cody Minahan. Cody is back this year. Brian Blair is back working for us again this year. Another gentleman, Isaac Pies, P-Y-S-Z, is working for us this year. Brandon Monzilla, Nicholas Shea, and Joe Camiso make up the 6. And again, I'll leave it up to Bruce and to Roy to talk about where they've been deployed within the group. We also have our senior work assistance program staff out and about these days, and again, Bruce and Roy can talk about specifics of what they're doing, but we have both gentlemen working for us now on a part-time basis to accrue the hours that they have relative to the tax rebate that they'll be receiving. The last staff item I did want to mention, and this ties back into the cross-connection program, is that we do have one staff member who is signed up for training. I believe it's in the middle to the late June. We have another staff member who is finishing up his advanced drinking water licensing training right now. And depending on how all the training works and if everyone is successful in terms of getting licensing, it's going to provide some opportunities for us to backfill positions within existing staff right now. And for that reason, what I'm doing is holding off in terms of trying to refill any positions at the moment. So if everybody becomes licensed, people will move up within the department, and then the position that will become open will be an entry-level position, probably in 2 months or so. If we tried to move ahead and backfill the cross-connection program right now, we'd have to do it externally, and then that would use up any ability to bring in new staff. Unfortunately, Mr. Wilson isn't here today, but he'd be happy to hear that The Board of Health is moving ahead with a public hearing for what's known as the FOG, or the Fats, Oil, and Grease Regulations, the grease trap regulations. In draft form, it would require any new food service establishments to install an external grease trap, and would give the Board of Health the authority that if there is an existing food service establishment that is creating documented problems downstream, to require them to upgrade their grease trap as well. So it's targeted first at new businesses, then secondly if there's problems at existing facilities.
Danny and I are happy too. It's been a long time
Oh, it's been
coming.
a long time.
Long time
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
Are we still having problems at Harkness with the grease buildup?
No, we've been taking care of that with our jet truck on a regular basis.
It's still there, we're just
Right. We're taking
It's
care of
definitely still
proactively,
there.
yeah.
Right. If we weren't there, we definitely would be having problems. And,
Right.
that was the point. There was an email that I sent to our health agent today, because she was looking for Board of Public Works and Department of Public Works support in advance of the public hearing. And I sent her a note that indicated that, if we didn't do what we're doing, we would definitely be having problems. And even with what we do on occasion have problems that develop in areas that we're not. They're not repeat areas, but the grease moves downstream and creates other problems. So,
Is that one of the items we get dinged for in Springfield too, or no?
Yeah.
Like if it travels down and they monitor it?
from a not
Not necessarily that.
directly, there are 3 parameters that are measured: flow, the strength of the wastewater, and the solid concentration in the wastewater. And then those 3 are then combined together to come up with a billing rate. The high quantities of grease will affect the strength of the wastewater, but it's not measured directly. The next item I did want to mention, and you may or may not have seen some information regarding this in the press. Obviously, everybody is familiar with the issues that have been going on in Flint, Michigan for some time right now. And I think as a result of that, Mass DEP, Mass Department of Environmental Protection, wants to get ahead of the curve relative to any concerns that people might have regarding lead and copper, particularly in schools. So the state has put out a grant program that communities can apply for, that school districts and school systems can apply for evaluating plumbing and testing within public schools. And we're working with the school department right now and likely putting an application together to help better understand, what the lead and copper characteristics are within, particularly some of our older schools. The good news is we have tested them periodically, and they have all tested that we have not had any lead or copper problems. But this would be a more rigorous testing process where you take a look at every fixture in the school, most likely, and identify, which fixtures might need to be replaced or eliminated because they might test higher than you'd like. Last item I had was another collaborative effort. We are meeting, I believe, on Friday, if not Friday, early next week, with the school department and the rec department to talk about stadium use and how to best respond to the need to remove trash and keep the stadium in good condition. Our typical procedure has been that we make certain everything is in good shape at the end of the day on a Friday, and we clean everything up on a Monday. But as the stadium gets more and more use, and we see things like jamborees going on over the weekend, or professional soccer leagues coming in over the weekend, the use gets greater and greater, and there's likely going to be a need to do something mid-weekend. And how that gets done, whether it's something that the DPW does, the school department does, or we work together on to make certain we keep it in good shape. But as the stadium gets used more intensely, it's becoming more of an issue.
So Saturday was some outside soccer, right?
Correct, yeah.
Is that a use fee involved in that?
I believe so. I believe that was a rec department event during the day as well as in the evening on Saturday.
And do they have maintenance covered in their use fee?
Custodial staffing is required, yes.
And does that then flow through to us?
No. And all they do is have to be there, correct, in case something happens, but they don't.
And open up bathrooms and take
Custodial at the school takes care of it. What about the trash?
No, they don't pick up.
But, I mean, I think we have to definitely address it, because
Right.
I mean, it's gonna happen. You're not gonna get that many people to show up. It was a pretty big event. You're not gonna get that many people to show up and not leave it behind any trash.
Right.
I'm assuming our rates can be competitive and include what it's gonna take on a Saturday to clean up, especially if now you got touch football on Sunday or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't wanna go there and see this trashy, messy field. And
Right.
I don't know how our budget is gonna be expected to just absorb it. So I'm hoping that's part of the whole conversation.
Absolutely.
At least that's my feeling.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be looking at overtime, and if we call them in, we've got, cover the minimum.
Right.
I mean, and I get it, it's good for the town. I mean, there was a lot of extra establishments that got extra revenue from people eating at their restaurants, and I mean, it's a good exposure for the town, but we have a limited budget, so
Right.
I'm not sure how our overtime budget can absorb, and we're gonna get the fall for it. I mean, it's gonna be, how come the DPW didn't clean that place up, you know?
And if we want to keep people coming back, especially on the day after that, there's an event like that and it's filthy and dirty, no one's going to come back to our facility, so it makes all good sense
Does it,
to do that.
I don't wanna we'll take a lot of time on this, but does it make sense to put a fenced-in dumpster somewhere near there? So that instead of having all the trucks and trailers and all this stuff, is there any way that maybe in a conspicuous place behind the grandstands, there could be a,
You'd probably want to get it off-site, I guess, summertime.
for the weekend though? No, for the
and-
weekend.
Oh.
I'm just thinking about the temporary holding till Monday. Is there any way that it would be like
Park a
a
truck
quick
down
thing where they
there.
could just like put it into some holding place till Monday, have extra empty barrels and just swap the full for the empty? You know, make it a 20-minute routine for maybe even the rec department, if they don't want to move the money to us.
Right.
Well, somebody's gotta also pick the trash up that's all over the place, and it's
Yeah.
not only the
I
barrels.
mean, the high school has a dumpster there. I know the custodians do use, they have a golf cart and all kinds of things they have access to. So
It's kind of the Disney effect is what I'm thinking. If there's way more barrels than you could possibly fill and some quick place to just hide it behind the fence till Monday, then the appearance is that it's kept clean. And sometimes there's just a different way to think about it rather than if we only have 8 barrels and the 8 barrels fill, now the stuff is on the ground.
Right.
I don't know, just talking out loud, but.
So our goal is to put our heads together between really the rec, school department. As you probably know already, what we do for high school football games is that we do bring staff on.
Right.
Typically on Friday nights, realizing it's a town event. A little bit different, we think, when there's outside events that are revenue generating events that might be dealt differently, or at least some cost sharing or something. That- so, It's a good problem to have, you know.
Oh, it's a great
because
problem to have, yeah.
it's successful, it's just dealing with the success. So that is the last item I have.
Okay. Next is building manager's report, Mr. Penny.
Yes, have a few items for the board this evening. I've kind of put in front of you my annual, FY17 annual services inspections. I have scheduled just about all our inspections for this summer. On the upper section of that spreadsheet you see there, I'm just waiting for a couple vendors to get those schedules in place. I got some costs in the right-hand margin on what those costs are going to be. And usually by the end of the summer, those costs are roughly around about $90,000. So I usually use up the lion's share of a lot of the school's maintenance budget in the first 2 months of service. But I'll keep updating that and give the board a copy of this sporadically through the summer. On the bottom, you can see some of the summer projects that we'll be doing also in conjunction with the upper inspections. We have quite a few. The air conditioner units for the high school. We have the sanding of the floors, the hardwood floors over the senior center. We've purchased a mezzanine for the service building here to kind of organize our mechanics garage a little bit better, to utilize the space. We have skylight repairs over at the high school. We have to do something with our skate shack, also over at Heritage Park. A lot of graffiti has been put on that building. We've got to address that this year with some kind of solid, darker stain on that building to help combat any graffiti. We have a new domestic hot water boiler over at Birchland Park that was approved at town meeting last night. We have to paint the front porch of Birchland Park School. That's kind of an ongoing project. We actually go through that building, we do a side per year to help seal the drive-it system over there, to help with the original installation of that drive-it system. It seems to be very porous and everything else. That's when you grow that algae and stuff in the shady parts of it. So we've actually used a specific paint that helps seals that up, so that doesn't happen anymore. So once this summer is up, I believe that the whole building has been painted and sealed up nicely, and we'll keep that on our maintenance plan in the near future also. We also have a couple other items at the high school. We have to do a plywood room for special education in room B2, I believe, near the large cafeteria. We have 2 new pool filters to install over at the high school. We also have a partial renovation of the library at the high school too. The high school approached me a few months ago. They're going to go out and purchase all new furniture for that facility. So we're going to do, we got a little bit of demolition to do. We got a glass wall and some doors to put up there, but we should be able to take care of that also for them. We also have a greenhouse upgrades. The school department received a grant for roughly about $2,000 to upgrade some of that facility over there. We have a circulator pump in boiler room 2 to rebuild. Remove some carpeting in the superintendent's office over at the high school. And we have to frame and drywall 4 classrooms at Meadowbrook School. This is where some folding doors that they do not utilize anymore to help combat with sound and everything else. We did do one over winter break. It seemed to work and was very successful doing so. Also, we have our playscapes over at Meadowbrook and Mountain View School, and to kind of move along with that item, we had a pre-construction meeting today. We met with the principals, the contractor, to go over the design plan that they submitted with the bid. The principals are very happy, so we're kind of just going over some of the logistics and picking out colors and everything else to go along with that. So based on the vendor and what their scheduled date are for installation, we're going to work with them once we get all the submittals and everything else, and based on lead time, we'll be doing that when school gets out as far as the demolition portion of the project and excavating the site in-house. On another note, Town Hall renovation project, we have completed to date. The drop ceilings have been completed today, except for the tile. We have to put in the lighting for the drop ceilings. Finish that by Friday. All the painting has been done, and we're scheduled to, well, we have to get the cabinets in too for the reception area for the assessor's office. Carpet is scheduled to go in on Monday next week, probably about a 2-3 day process. Then we'll move the assessors in probably mid to late next week. Get the accountant out, bring them down into the media room. But in the accountant's office, I've already done Sarah's office in the back, the old IT, and rearranged that area. So we're just gonna have to do that small area, do the abatement, probably a couple weeks worth of work, and then hopefully wrap up that portion of the project. Field report, as Bob said, we received 6 new staff members this week, summer help. I've dispersed actually 4 of those summer staffers with Tom Anderson. This is going to kind of help get caught up on weed whacking, all our pump stations, and all the miscellaneous stuff that we do when we have time. So this should get us all caught up as far as cutting and weed whacking, and especially we have graduation coming up in a couple of weeks. So it's a great time to get those guys in and in play and help out with everything that's going on. We also, with Roy and his help and his guys, have skinned the center field for the softball league. So that's been pretty successful. They had their first game on it last night. Waiting to hear any feedback from any of those teams on how it played and everything else, but haven't heard any complaints, so hopefully everybody's going to enjoy that field. We also have purchased our Step 2 fertilization program. We received that actually today. I'm working with the high school to try to get that applied on Friday this week. And then we'll worry about the rest of the schools probably in the next upcoming weeks, because I know the high school has been very busy with athletics, and they have playoffs and graduation, so we probably wouldn't be able to get over there for the Step 2 application until probably end of June, early July, and it's kind of pushing that season off to be successful, I guess, with that type of fertilizer. So we're going to be applying that Friday. COA generator, we've pulled all the wires in for that unit. Steve finished up what he could do as of today, all the control wiring, feeders, everything else. Our next scheduled work at that generator to finish up the wiring, we've got to schedule a shutdown of the power to the building to tie in the feeders and everything else through the service and pull some of the service wires out in the basement and refeed that generator. So that's going to happen on June 4th. That project, or the outage, is going to probably be from 8 to 10 hours to do that. We're going to probably have one of our generators on site to plug into the coolers and everything else, so we don't lose any of the food and everything else in the fridge and the freezer over there. I've already scheduled that with Carolyn, so we'll be finishing up that project. Well, once that's done, I got to get Cummins out here, do load bank testing and the whole 9 yards, and the 8-hour training for the guys and everything else. So hopefully we'll be wrapping up that shortly also. And that's all I have for you.
Do we have cameras or motion lights down at Heritage? Did we ever do that on the poles? Because we have fiber, right?
No, we have, those are on PhotoEyes. All the lights for that shine on the field itself are on PhotoEyes. So, but that's all we have.
There is a pole at the back of by the playground area, and I believe fiber.
I thought we ran fiber to there in case we ever wanted to, so I don't know if the price of
Yes.
cameras, or I guess I'm even thinking if Ryan happens to recycle or cycle out some older cameras
Okay.
in the replacement of, let's get some better ones that tilt, pan, zoom, or do
Sure.
something different, just on his short list, almost like we recycled cruisers. Does he have any old cameras that we could maybe put there, and action sensitive light,
Okay.
just to try and mitigate some of the graffiti or stuff that happens, and maybe catch an image or two or scare people and put up a sign?
Sure.
For what it's worth.
I will look into it.
And then where is graduation? Is it still behind the school now?
Behind the school on the varsity baseball
So we have to
field.
do the bleacher gig thing?
We didn't do that last year. They get enough chairs. It seemed to work fine. I was there, obviously. But we didn't really have to bring any bleachers in or anything else.
Okay.
It's been
I
working.
remember one year or something, we had to carry the
We
bleachers over or something.
We did do that the first year once the stadium was finished, but we didn't need to do that in the last probably 2 years.
And why did they decide we can't do it on the field?
Because of the chairs. Because of the chairs and the feet. So you have a single point of contact on the field, so in that field may rip that turf based on that. So usually if people are using a turf field, they usually lay down plywood
Got it.
or get specific chairs that are
Okay.
for that. That was the main concern, is damaging the field.
Highway and utility managers report, Ray Esposito.
Yes, we're pretty well caught up on the road repairs now, and aluminum seating. We have some miscellaneous we still have to catch up on, but we started doing the berm repairs now, and we have quite a few. We're left over from last year. I want to clean up, and then we'll lumen seed that when that's done. We're keeping up with the potholes as they come up. Trees, we've compiled the list for to go out to bid. The remaining ones that we were unable to do. As they come in, I'm keeping up with them. Sidewalks, There's two that we have to do a repair on, 2 areas. The rest of them that had trip hazards, we were able to get a contractor to come in and grind those down for us at a very reasonable price. Sweeping, we're continuing, to sweep the streets, cleaning the catch basins. We have quite a list. Markouts, we're starting to get more and more of those now, with the season from gas company and stuff. We have a lot of brush at the transfer station, so with transfer station being open on Wednesdays, we can only grind a couple days a week now, so we're trying to keep up with that. Now that we have a senior, assistance worker, Stephen, we've assigned the parade route, because that's coming up. So he's doing a great job on painting all the hydrants, and signposts on the parade route. Also, we have 2 of the summer kids. Now, we haven't painted hydrants in a long time. Periodically we do paint them as needed, but it's nice to have a couple kids. They're going to hit all the streets where we just paved, so it'll look nice around all the schools and town buildings, and we'll try to reach out and hit all the mains and so forth. Bruce already mentioned about the center of softball. I think that came out really nice. Rained the other day and there wasn't any water on it. I think that's going to work out great. In the future, we're going to be starting the John Street water. Looking maybe the beginning of June. We still have a couple of sidewalk repairs that we have to do. Catch basins, we have a list of catch basins that nothing's really bad, so we're going to continue to do that. The transfer station upgrades, we're meeting with Time Bond tomorrow. We can start on that soon. And on the parade route, we're starting this Friday. We're going to start painting it. We're going to do it on Friday nights. So we'll be keeping that swept, doing all the potholes and any little divots and painting that up. And then you'll be happy to hear we're going to start on Shaker Road by Boston Chicken. We're going to start doing the cobblestone possibly next week, the beginning of next week. We're getting the material. We got a dig safe. We got a plan. And then when we get done with that, we're going to do a Shaker Road at Maple Court. See what we can do with that intersection. And that's all I have.
Awesome. There's a stump on Prospect Street. I just drive by it 2 or 3 times a day, real close to the street. Probably like right when you come up out of the center on the first flat on the left-hand side. The tree was taken down, huge tree was taken down, and there's still like the stump. Do we go back, or do we just let that rot, or is?
Well, some of them we take down. If National Grid took the tree down, we'll take the stumps down. And some of them we take down, and some we don't.
Okay.
It all depends on the situation.
All right, just take a peek. I go by it twice a day or 3 times a day, so I don't know the address, but it's like right when you come up and then it flattens out. It's on the left-hand side. The house is pretty close to the street, and then the stump was right next to the street, and it was probably yay big around and sticking up like this high.
Okay, so I'll
Sure.
check that out.
I didn't know if that's us or the National Grid or the homeowner or what.
There are most times we take the stump down. There's some cases where it's not necessary because we're just removing a tree because it's a visibility issue or something like that. We may leave it behind for the homeowner, but most of the time we're taking
Pretty
the stump.
sure the wood got left, because I think I saw the homeowner and/or pickup trucks like chopping it into, because it was like this big, so they were like.
There is one that the National Grid took down, and that might be the one.
Okay, and that's on the list, I know.
Yeah,
And then they would come back later and do them, grind them all at once? or they would-
No, we'll do that.
Oh, we do that.
Yeah, we wait for them to take the tree down, and then when that's done, sometimes they tell us, sometimes we find out driving through, and then we put it on the list.
Okay. That's all?
All right. Town engineers report, Dan Murphy?
Just a few things. As you probably saw, there's crack sealing going on, 2 full days with 2 crews. We finished most everything. We had to go with the rotary this morning from about 5 to 6:30, and then we stopped work. The traffic, we didn't get all the way through. So they're going to be back out there tomorrow morning at 5. Hopefully finish that, and then they'll be on Shaker Road. That'll close out. We'll reach our gallonage. We get 914 gallons remaining.
That's the number. He's been keeping that a secret. He wouldn't tell us how much before.
Just to report, the Chestnut Street is complete between Benton and Hawley. All done. They did the final stop bars last night. The construction finished that, and I think it looks pretty good. Happy to see that done. Palmer Paving has come to town, and we've met with them, as I think Bob reported at the last meeting. They've dig saved all the areas. They've gone over it with the project superintendent. They're planning to start work to get the subcontractor in to raise structures and such. They said Monday, but it looks like the middle of next week, possibly to the end. With paving, the way the initial schedule shows is that all during June, you want to pave everything, and you do Parker Street last. And Parker Street has to be done by August 15th, so it's good. They're going to get in early. We're going to get our roads done early this season, which is good.
So they're going to start even though the funds aren't available till July 1?
They can start, and they know their billing. We can pay them, but we can't get reimbursed until after we can pay them ahead of time.
We will, as the schedules get firmed up, we'll get more specific information out to the press. And anytime, typically what we do is anytime we have a road closure, like we'll have Markham Road, for instance, will be a road closure, a pretty easy closure. I'll typically get a call out to all the residents in town to try to let them know in advance.
And then the last thing I have is just on Summers Road, we're starting to think about mixing ratios for the vegetative topsoil, the vegetative support layer. We had some testing done, as I indicated earlier. It looks like a 60-40 blend of the processed compost to the topsoil will get us towards our goal. They like to see it at 8% organic when you have a 9-inch vegetative topsoil layer. We've got 3% topsoil and 11% processed compost, so about a 60-40 blend should get us there. And it looks like we have, in the processed compost pile, we may need a little bit from the pile to be processed, maybe 200 yards, and that'll get us to our quantity that we need. The topsoil pile looks like it's sufficient, a little more than half of what we got there. Should do it. And so we've got plenty of the barrier material.
So our goal is at least to get to the first phase of the landfill closure without having to buy any materials.
Right.
We'll have some equipment that we'll be renting and a few odds and ends, but all the earthen materials we have on site already, all the organic material we've been processing over the past couple of years.
So it's good, ready to go.
So I don't know the name of it, but we need one of those belly dump truck things. Is that how you move it and spread it?
Probably not a belly dump, but not like a live bottom type dump, but it'll be a large, probably off-road dump truck that we
Load and dump in piles and then spread.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Anything else? No, schedule the next meeting.
That I can think of.
Wednesday, June 1st work for you?
Works for me.
All right, let's schedule the next meeting for Wednesday, June 1st, 5 o'clock at the Service Building. Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.